have a susceptibility to the information and at least consider it. That doesn't mean that they have to swallow it and believe everything that they're hearing and so forth, but just the idea that, okay, let's entertain this for a while and take it into my own worldview and consider it. And I think
Yes.
that interest must be there. And at that point, maybe they can begin to make real judgment, so to speak, about, okay, does this fit into the larger context, and what do I have to change, so to speak, in order to incorporate this into my worldview. So I think really that it isn't about convincing anyone really in that sense, because there has to be an initial spark there in all these subjects, be it conspiracy, history, whatever it is, where they have a questioning nature and just a curiosity for these type of subjects. That's my belief.
Yes. Very, very interesting indeed. But after Mozart's death, the next few decades were busily spent in arriving at the final version of Mozart's, inverted commas, manuscripts, and the publication of these completed manuscripts. But that's another huge story, and it involved several publishers, one of them in Offenbach, which was not far from Frankfurt, by Andre, the man who purchased these manuscripts. And then there was the creation of brand new works, which were still being included in his list up until Ludwig Köchel finally published the Köchel catalog that people consult today. That was in the 1850s, 1860s.
Is there like what should we call it, an institution or a certain group that is dedicated to kind of care for the work of Mozart and try to like, yes, this is an accepted work by him, and now we make it so? Or how, do you know how that world looks, so to speak?
Yes, the Mozarteum in Salzburg is devoted to the study of Mozart and his legacy, and these are regarded as the authoritative body for the study and dissemination of information about Mozart. And then, of course, there are editions of the catalogue of Mozart's works, known as the Köchel catalogue. This is published sometimes every 10 years, every 50. There's a new edition just about to be published, the 8th edition. And so these two things are perhaps the voice of orthodoxy or the voice of convention as far as Mozart's career is concerned.
And have they been adding then concerts, operas, and other compositions to his list throughout the years?
The opposite is true. It's a one-way street where hundreds of works that were once attributed to Mozart have been removed.
Really?
Yeah.
So the myth, even on the official level, then in one sense, is falling apart. Is that right?
Exactly. Yes. So if you look at the whole history of Mozart research, there have been more than, this is acknowledged by the Mozarteum, that more than 100 symphonies have been attributed to Mozart at various times since his death. 100. Well, today there are 41. Yeah.
Really? Oh.
25 of them are not by Mozart. So it goes on. No, it's a one-way street in which this 8th edition of the Köchel catalogue will remove a further 8 pieces from that catalogue. So it's every single time, we're talking about something that is unique in the history. Imagine, if you will, an art gallery with 626 portraits hanging on the wall, and every few weeks somebody comes and removes a few because they said, well, sorry, they're not actually by Leonardo at all, they're by somebody else.
Right.
And this has been going on now for the last 150 years. It's about time for people to wake up and realize what the story is actually trying to tell them.
And when the book is out, what are your ambitions with it? What are you targeting, so to speak? Are you trying to get into the mainstream academia world here, or are you targeting more of the alternative, those who look at alternative versions of history?
No, I'm trying to speak to people who know the subject. The people who know the subject, but it's strange, you can be in the middle of a forest and not see the trees, no?
Yes.
And this is true of Mozart. one of the dominant myths of our civilization. Amadeus, it's what is there not to like about this? It's so enthralling. It's so childish. It's so incredible. Can life continue without this? Yes, it can. Real life.
It feels like also that we're in a, and I think you touched upon this briefly before, that almost seems like many of these things now are coming to the surface, maybe not in quotes here, the truth about everything, because we're still on a path where we try to discover what the truth is, but at least versions of what can be possible, and not just one single, like, this is it, and nothing more. And it seems to be that we're in this time now. Would you agree on that things are coming to the surface?
Absolutely. We are at an age, you're so right. The 18th century was a time of tremendous human intellectual achievement. Absolutely. But our age is perhaps the greatest feature of our age is our ability to see above it. It's almost we're entering into a kind of prophetic age, or where we are able to see the track record, to judge the fruits of history, to see a recurring theme, if you like, in whatever we're examining. And how can this be so consistently said by so many people, whether it's from a musical viewpoint, a political viewpoint, a religious viewpoint? They all seem to be concurring. There seems to be a general realization that mythology and intrigue really has been so much a part of man's history.
Yes.
And it should not be relegated or suppressed from our understanding of human existence.
Is there anything here in the last couple of minutes that you would like to mention that we haven't dived into, or something else that you'd like to leave people with?
Yes, I would like to say that my principal motivation is not so much to say, oh, you're wrong, but to say, look again at the discoveries of musicologists, many of them not recognized, and consider carefully the impact that has been caused by the creation of a myth, the myth being Mozart, and its cost on musicians and on culture is almost too great to quantify, I think. And for that reason alone, I think a fair and modern reassessment of this material in the light of modern discoveries is appropriate. And I hope it can be judged on that level.
Very good. And I think, again, this is really interesting material. And again, it just adds to the picture of what we're seeing now, so to speak, of how history is being, revisioned, if you will, in that sense, if you want to use that term. And
oh, yes. Revisionism as such is, even this term has been maligned.
Yeah, that's right.
But I don't think that revisionism is a bad thing. I think it's rather like saying that history can only be understood by understanding queens and kings. When history is really about human people, including human nature.
Yes.
And in that sense, I encourage revisionism. I think it's the one hope we have left to come to terms with our own self and our own society.
Well, keep up the great work, Robert Newman. Thank you very much for joining us here today. And again, we would love to have you back here when your book is out and when people can get a hold of it. And maybe at that point as well, we can relay people to a website or whatnot. And you mentioned before that people can get in contact with you. Do you want to leave an email address or something like that with us that people can send you questions to? Do you have time for that?
If anyone wishes to communicate with me, I'd be grateful if you could take them. I don't really want to go into much correspondence, but if there are any important points that people send to you, please send them to me, and I will be happy to send them to them.
Further. Okay, absolutely. Okay, so people can relay that to me, and I'll relay that further to you then, Robert, maybe.
Yeah, any points at all that you feel or would merit discussion, by all means, I'm always available for you.
Okay, very good. So again, thank you very much here, Robert, for your time today. Great 2 hours, very interesting here about the life of Mozart, about the concoction of history and how this has been put together here. But I'm looking forward to having you back then on the program here sometime after the summer, get an update and maybe some new things that we didn't discuss this time. We can go into then as well.
Of course, I'm more than pleased, and thank you for the privilege of sharing with you.
Absolutely, very much. Thank you, Robert. Okay, take good care.
Thank you, Henrik. Bye.
Thank you for listening to our program with Robert Newman. Hope you've enjoyed it and gained some new insights and that we've helped to add to your perspective. My thanks to Fredrik behind the controls. My name is Henrik. Take good care and we will talk more soon.